I came back from India yesterday, and I'm pretty knackered. I've been there for 2 weeks shooting tigers, and I was there during the Holi festival, and this is one of my best friends, and unfortunately me. The reason I put it up there is because it's been an interesting change to my career in the past 6 months. I've begun to realise that I can't just be a photographer anymore, and I can't just take pictures and try and make my living on that. I have to create something that's better to share, i.e. share with friends, or to share with you lot. A lot of you have followed me since the beginning of my career. So I'm now starting to shoot a lot more video and photography too, and trying to mix it together, and you'll see a little bit of that today, I hope, as we go through. The first thing I want to talk to you about is the first multimedia project I've ever worked on. This is something I've worked on from the start, where I've been thinking about video and stills together and how I might use it. And it's about a very special tiger. She's called Noor, and I tell you what, she's the most special tiger to me. There's lots of other tigers around, but to me she is something else. How beautiful is that? Look at that. She's beautiful. I've been shooting it on the DX2, the 5D4 and the 60 IR to have some infrared. I've also been shooting the video on the 1DX2 and the M5. The M5 is brilliant for video, very small, can put it on the windscreen of the car, on a beanbag, and it will shoot very, very stable still video, very nice. And the idea is at the end I will do a nice big book, which I'm going to do this summer, print, and also I'm going to make a movie that I'm going to put on my YouTube channel. So you can see a movie of the whole thing, which should be a lot more interesting. Anyway, I want to show you some pictures. So the project started off 3 years ago, when I shot this, which was a very much wanted image of mine, to get a mother tiger with young cubs. And these are 2.5 to 3 months old. You literally don't see this size of cub out in the wild. So to get this was a unique experience. And it kind of kicked off my project in the way that I wanted it to be, because when you do one of these projects, you can take lots of pictures of tigers, but you need these very special encounters to really hold it together. And encounters like this that are quite unique, I think, are quite very different. And to get a tiger cub being carried in the mouth, well, my agency, which is the Prime Wildlife Agency, had none. So it shows you how rare this is. And I actually couldn't get this in. I could have shot this with my iPhone, and I would have got the whole tiger in. It's how close I was literally here, and she came round the front of the Jeep carrying the cub. So had I had a 24mm lens, my 24-70 on, I would have got a full frame picture of a tiger carrying a cub. It's that ridiculous. So if you know what you're doing with tigers, you can actually manage to get some pretty decent pictures. Now this Noor thing has been ongoing. So I've been back in different seasons and at different stages in her life. So those cubs that you see there were a few years ago. They're now grown up. They're 2 males, and they've moved to another territory in Ranthambore. So they're all right. When I went back last year, she clearly had cubs of her own again because her teats were showing. So I followed her for 2 weeks. I was there with her for about 10 days of those 2 weeks. I managed to find her every day. She's in a mountain habitat, and you're going to see some landscapes from me in a minute, and don't recoil with horror. You're actually all right for me, believe it or not. Getting these kind of pictures with her is really easy. The difficult thing is getting the 50 Jeeps that are behind her following her out of the picture. So you learn to get on a curve, so that when she comes around the curve, you get her alone without all the people waving at you behind going, "Hi Andy," like, no, really don't want you in the picture, thank you very much, just stay out of it. But if you can get them on the curve, you get these really beautiful expressions. We followed her out of the curve, and she sat on the ground. So we drove along, sat opposite, and I thought, oh, she's just going to sit in the sun. Bear in mind, it's 120 degrees at this point. Indian summer, pretty hot. All of a sudden, she pricked her ears up, and all of a sudden, I heard some rocks fall to my left-hand side, because it was a valley. I was just turning when she ran. And she ran because a sambar had came down, which is a big deer, come down the valley. I just had time to scream to all my clients who were with me, ISO 1600 now. So even though it's a really bright, hot day, I knew she was going to run, and I think it's always important that you want to nail that run. So you don't just shoot it on ISO 400 that you're on. I have no worry with the cameras we have at putting it at 1600, because you have no prizes for getting a picture that's out of focus. No excuses. So whack the ISO up, keep the shutter speed up, and I didn't start blasting, even though my camera can take 4.5 million pictures in its buffer. I didn't start blasting until I could see the prey in the camera. Because there's loads of pictures of them running, and they're not very elegant when they run. They look a bit kind of strange. And you can see there that what they do when they're running they're emptying their bowels. It's not really great to have this lovely stretched out tiger picture of it emptying its bowels at full stretch. Really, it's not. And then she hit. Look at the muscles on her. Guys, doesn't that make you interested? It gets me every time, you know. Muscly girls, you know what I'm saying? Look at that. Right on the back of the sandbar. She literally, that sandbar is about 2.5 times her weight. So she jumped on the top and she's grabbing onto it. And at the moment, the sandbar can run away, but you can see it's trapped in the rocky terrain. So it wasn't made for it. She bounced off the rocks when she ran. It was amazing to watch. So she really caught up on it. And then watching her pull this down, I mean, to see this in the open, in sunlight, without any twigs or branches or cars, oh my God, I was thinking, what have we done? Is this a setup or something? I mean, we were the only Jeep there. It was ridiculous. Apologies for people who don't like this, but it is nature. So then she pulled it down, and of course she kills via strangulation. And it's one of the most harrowing things about being a wildlife photographer, and it's something I will never get used to. You watch the life go out of an animal in front of you. When a predator kills it and they're strangling it, you watch the eyes fade, and you watch the life go out of that animal. And I always think, I like to stop everyone taking pictures of it, because I think it's a sign of respect. That animal is dying in front of you. It's not just a prey item that you don't care about, it's a living thing that's just died in front of you. And of course we all love her, but I think respect is a good thing. And then she dragged it up the side of the cliff. You can see, I mean, that is a big animal compared to her. She has to get it out of the 120-degree heat, because it's going to be pretty rancid in there after a few hours. So she's trying to drag it into a cave at the side. She's got no worry about anyone else taking the kill. A male tiger will not come in and take the kill from a female, because you don't want to mess with her at all. I've seen one snarl from her. That's enough for me in my entire life. I don't need to see another one, thank you very much. And as you can see, she's very happy. She opens the stomach first. The stomach is the thing that smells, so she's smelling it. Called the flaming gesture. She's smelling it in herself. She liked all that. At that time, we had to leave her. She'd done the kill. I couldn't believe it. I mean, the news about the fact that I had nailed it went round Ranthambore and the tourism community like you couldn't believe. Because they knew I wouldn't miss it. I mean, I may be crap at a lot of stuff, but if it's essential, I just won't miss it. And that's just experience. Just like Lara spoke to you about experience, it is just experience and second nature with the camera. I don't fiddle with the camera in situations like this. I just shoot. That's what I do. I'm just there focused, trying to get that moment captured. Anyway, we went away and we came back 5 hours later because of the heat. And she was nowhere to be seen at the start. But all we did find was a boy. This guy's called T57. He's a man and he's a young boy, 6 years old. He's not related to her. And he hadn't mated with her yet because the previous father was called Ustad. Very nice looking chap, you can see. I like the way he's reclining there. He's got a nice little mane. And after a few minutes, she came and joined him. And we're thinking, yeah. Brilliant. Perv book is going to be on the way of animals mating. Add tigers to it. I've got all kinds of animals doing it, but not tigers. Unfortunately, it wasn't going to happen. Clearly she wasn't ready, and I think she had really young cubs. And we know now that she did have young cubs and they died during the monsoon. So it meant that he is the dominant male and he was going to mate with her that afternoon. And you can tell she may have actually been coming into season that afternoon. They may have already been dead because she'd been in that valley for 3 days hunting. So they may have already been dead. She may be coming into season again, which is what they do, because he was walking after her like some sick puppy doing the flaming gesture, which means he can smell and scent that she's in season. And I did want to have a word with him and say, look, you're not going to get anywhere, mate, doing that. Just walking after him like that. You've got to be a bit tougher, a bit harder to get. Let's fast forward to December this year. Last year, that's the one. In the winter, beautiful. This is her coming along the road. This is probably going to be the cover to the book because it has a lot of atmosphere. ISO 6400. Does it look like ISO 6400? No. Where's the only time you see it's got high ISO? On your monitors at home. And when you take a high ISO picture, what's the first thing you do? When you post it online, you put, this is taken at a high ISO. What'd you do that for? Nobody else knows. They can't tell at 800 pixels, so leave it. So that's high ISO, but look at the intent. Look at the look on those eyes. Get out of my way is the look. So we followed her along the road. And then someone came out from behind her on the road. And I suddenly realised, oh my God, she has got a fresh set of cubs from T57 that no one really knew about. And then it got slightly better. Sorry for the projector, it's a little bit warm. I decided to, composition-wise, I decided to offset it at the top because the reflection was so nice at the bottom. We always forget reflections. Whenever we go to a waterhole, I always say to my clients, reflection, reflection, don't forget it all the time, because the reflection makes the picture. And if you cut it off, it doesn't make the picture at all, it ruins it. I used to have on the back of my camera a plaster with reflection, you twat on it. And it meant that when I looked at it, that's my language, when I looked at it, I would remind myself to do it, because I always forgot. I always cut the head off of a heron with a lovely reflection. I'd cut the head off. I'm like, oh, what have I done? So to train myself, I put a label on the back, and now hopefully I'm a bit better at doing it. So there's the third cub coming down. And then was the most amazing 5 minutes I think I've had. Winner. I mean, look at the composition. I couldn't believe it. I mean, I couldn't believe that my blow-up tiger cub worked so well on that rock there to hold the composition in, and my two are just amazing. And I didn't cut the reflection out at all. I would rather she was a bit that way, but you can't help it. As a wild tiger cub picture, that's about as good as you can get. And I shot that with 100 to 400. Okay, the new 100 to 400, that's what I shot it with on the 1DX2. I shoot most of my tiger pictures with that because it's just bloody brilliant. But then she moved to another area, and I had the choice there, do I cut the tail off or do I leave it? And I decided with the composition, if I included the tail, the composition would have been imbalanced. So I cut it off quite at the top there, and I think it works. Nice reflection. When an animal comes down to drink, okay, you've got literally 10 seconds before the reflection goes. So blast away and then sit back and have a drink, because it's all gone after that, the reflection. But they came to join her, and there's one sitting on the back, and they're all, oh my, I was going mad. I took quite a lot of pictures. Great pictures, right? But in my career, pictures aren't enough anymore. So when I went this time, I thought about multimedia. And I mean, this time as in 2 or 3 weeks ago. And so everything I did had a video element, as well as shooting myself with the iPhone, as well as trying to put stills together with it. So I've just put this little clip together. I edited it on a car back from Rajasthan the other day. So it's a bit, sorry about that. It's shot on the iPhone, the M5 and the 1DX2. You're gonna see some tiger cub footage you're gonna like, all right?
So here we are on the road.
But you see me in HD first.
Everyone happy? Best driver. Smile. Best guide. It's been fantastic. You can see the cubs now on the road with the mother.
It gets better, don't worry. It's a video nasty right now.
Show you.
There they are. See them?
See them? They're just on the road ahead of us there. You can see I've got the video going here. This is 4K on the 1DX2 shooting. And as well, I've got the M5 here, which is shooting just normal HD.
So I'm shooting two things at once.
It's getting lots of nice wide angles of the cubs and the mother. Okay, there she is on the road. And you can see just ahead there, that's where she is.
So this is showing you face tracking.
There's the cub coming in. I've got a video recording on 1DX2.
You'll see it's detecting the cubs here.
4K video.
Bit annoying because it
and
did it.
There as well, I've got video on the M5 as well, which is just normal HD video. So you can see it's very good. I'm just going to dab the focus there. I'm just going to dab the focus over the tiger.
It's good, this guy, isn't he? Whoever he is, he's good, isn't he?
That's it. I'll put it on tracking, so it's going to track the focus. So the things
so you can see I'm moving the tracking focus now onto the closest element.
Onto that tiger as well.
But the composition is
adjust the composition
rubbish.
a bit, so I'm going to stop it.
So I'll stop it, recompose it.
Push it down a little bit like that.
Are you ready for the footage? It's cute.
Restart it again. Okay, and the focus is now tracking this tiger.
Oh! Come on, that's good. What do you mean bloody sitting there? Look at that. Look. Look at that. And it's tracking it. The 1DX2, I dabbed her face and it's tracking it in 4K. Because I can't focus for anything, I've got no eyes. And then this one, she's sniffing a tree to see who's been there, the male, T57. And she's now going to do the Fleeman for you, look. Oh, she's tracking it again. Oh. 4K, that's why you're shooting 4K, how amazing is that? And you'll see the difference now with HD. So this is stuff on the M5, little tiny camera, M5 in HD. Still nice though, look. And I know there's a lot of softies in the audience, so I'll let it run a bit. Isn't that beautiful? There are certain TV companies that we won't mention have never got anything like this in months and months of trying. Shame. Never mind. Call my agent. Oh, it's 2. I can't believe it. 3. The thing is with video, let the animals or the subject do the talking. Don't try and move it and do trendy stuff. Let the picture develop itself. Let them move out the frame. If they don't move out the frame, you keep shooting. Here's the when they're all asleep. You can see typical setup. I've got everything going. Again, the M5. How beautiful is that? I mean, really. And then finally, on the last day, we got a kill again. And this is her coming in and picking it up after she whacked it. Enjoy that? So I filmed all that on Canon cameras and the iPhone, and I want to give it a raw feeling. So what we're doing now, we're going to create some travel movies when we go and travelling. A lot of people say, you show us the pictures, but you don't show what it's like behind the scenes. So we're going to create movies with the whole thing in, but a bit better than that. No scripts. I've done some TV work. Do you remember the ugly bloke on TV? That was me. So all ad hoc. We've premiered it on PhotoBuzz, everyone loved it, so we're going to put it now on our own YouTube channel. It's going to have time-lapse, all kind of stuff, but it's shot with simple stuff. So the first one, we're going to produce a tiger one, and then we're going to do one on mountain lions, which we're shooting next month. So keep this space. I hope you're going to enjoy what you're going to see. It's going to be very different. These are some other tigers I took this trip. This is Nora again. Oh, cute. Always focus on the closest element. So while she's giving me the threatening look, this tiger cub is the closest. So you always focus on the closest thing. It makes a massive difference. That anything in the background can be out of focus, but anything in the foreground can't be. Okay, so you have to be really, really careful to always get the closest element. I gave this one a bit of a grungy process. I've kind of changed my processing a bit. And it's been interesting that during this tiger process, you've seen a lot of full frames there, but I've taken a lot of really interesting wide angles and different shots where I've tried to show the habitat. This is the father of the first lot of cubs called Gustard. I've tried to take a lot of abstract, some interesting portraits, something that will define what a tiger is all about, stealth. To show the habitat, again, offset to the right-hand side, that holds in that side, that holds in that side, some nice light here, focus on here, leg forward to show positive motion, and looking right at me. The light, well, God made that, so I can't do much about that. But I was very lucky, but I'm just trying to shoot a lot wider and create something a bit more special. And even this, you can't see the tiger. I had someone at camera time, I said, oh, you can't see the tiger. It's there. It's not that, is it? It's that there. This image gives the feeling, I think, of that tiger doesn't know you're there. It's one of those rare times in this tiger's life when it's doing something and not being watched by humans. And that's that impression, that's why I shot it. And I wanted to show that Nora lives in the mountains. She lives in a very mountainous environment. So I want to show in the pictures that very same thing. So here with the cubs, I gave it a very grungy feel when I processed it. I changed my processing. It's different, it's not quite so saturated these days because I want to show more of the habitat included in it. I'm also quite happy to shoot through trees. You know, that's an interesting composition. Bloody hard, you just pick the easiest area you can to focus on and shoot through the trees. Showing them in a forest habitat, but showing her in the mountain habitat. And this is with an infrared. I struggled to show how the mountains were hot, unforgiving places. I tried it with a colour, it just didn't convey the heat. And as soon as I tried it with infrared, it conveyed the message that I want to give, that this is a very hot, unforgiving habitat. And that is with an 11mm lens to get that. Again, a black and white, something a little bit different. It's out of my comfort zone, but I needed to do it for the project, and I've got a lot better, although Jeff might disagree with me if he's watching. Just to show what it's like. When you read my book, I want to take you there. I want you to look at this book and think, God, I want to go there. You can go there with me if you like, but I want to go there. I want to go to this place. That's what I want my pictures to actually show to you. So even offsetting one on the far side, this beautiful infrared habitat. She's hunting. She's waiting for some idiot to start coming down with horns to drink. That's what she's waiting there. She's not just lying in the sun. Well, actually she is. But... And also the infrared, I wanted to show these rock rivers that are everywhere. And the infrared allowed me to do that. And again, to give this impression of how hot and unforgiving the actual environment is. Anyway, that's the Tiger project. And that's the final picture I took of her last week. Somebody took of me. Look, I'm not even looking at her. Poor thing. I'm looking at a baby that's trying to come across the road. You can see all my clients there. You can see I'm actually working with 4 different cameras there at once, so I've always got a ridiculous amount of equipment. Others I shot this trip very quickly because I need to move on. Right, so I'm going to talk to you about that another time. Right, Poles Apart project. I'm doing Poles Apart. I want to show that both ice regions are in the same trouble. We're losing both polar regions, and I think everyone just does them in isolation. I don't want to do them in isolation. I want to do a book which has the Arctic and the Antarctic in it together. So for the Arctic, this was last year. See a second polar bear there at the top, coming in. Where are we? This is a really nice blue ice formation. We pulled the ship in next to this, and we're very low. So this is with an 11 to 24 mil lens. She's very, very close to me, standing up there. And I just like the habitat there and the kind of like feel of being in the Arctic and being in the ice. Again, the same pool from a different angle. You can see lots of polar bears have walked in. You can see there, we were there for 3 days. We had 5 different bears come and say hello. And slightly different composition. I used the ice as the leading element there and shot a long way to get the bear in its habitat. These are pictures I would never take before, but I think it's interesting when you do a book project, you have to show ice. And the guy where I was actually scared, for the first time on Svalbard I've ever been scared, this guy wanted to come in the water after us. We already had 1 bear swimming around, and I didn't want a second one in the water when you're in an inflatable. No, it's not what you want. Now the Antarctic, well, I've never really shown these pictures before, and I'm leading an expedition this year in November to the Antarctic. So if any of you want to come, you'll see the Natural World Safaris booth is over here, leading it with them. It's an amazing place. Look at the colour, look at the blue, look at the sunrise. I'm not a landscape photographer. You'd be better off taking a camera away from me than let me take landscapes. But when I go down there, I feel so inspired because everywhere is stunning. The light is stunning, the ice is stunning. You can take great pictures with iPhones. There's something about it that's amazing. And there's something about it that's worth protecting for us. These are not shooting stars. I actually went and used a slow shutter speed on the camera and a slow flashing speed to blur rain as it was falling. So this is rain falling in front of the camera that the flash is lighting. It makes it look like kind of shooting stars, I think. A little bit kind of creative. It's a place called the Iceberg Graveyard where icebergs go to die. Shoved against the shore, the waves pound them and they gradually die over many, many years. Yeah, I know you want to see penguins and there's loads of penguins on Antarctica, but there are more things in Antarctica because the challenge for me in Antarctica was, yes, I can get the wildlife, but all I want to see is Antarctica from above. And the key to me seeing Antarctica above was the Royal Navy. This is HMS Endurance, our icebreaker, and I was allowed to go on her for 2 work missions, which was phenomenal because I could use her helicopters. And my second love, equal first love these days, aviation. So I was able to go up in the Lynx helicopter. See the camera there? That's filming BBC Frozen Planet. So we had a second helicopter which would maintain contact with this one in the habitat, and I could cadge my way into that second helicopter with bribery. Now, how do you bribe pilots? Pictures of themselves. Very easy. So when I was up, we took the opening sequence to the Frozen Planet, which is this. The helicopter, we found this iceberg and we radioed in. We said, we found a good one. Okay, we'll be there in 15 minutes. Do not land on it. We have a habit with our pilots of landing on top of icebergs and having a cup of coffee and doing selfies. And they didn't want coffee stains on top of the iceberg pitched up in HD. It'd be amazing to see it in HD. So they said, don't land on it and don't destroy it. But this is what they used in the opening sequence. To get Antarctica from the air was just amazing. I mean, just to see it from the air was just incredible. They played a trick on me one night. They landed me They landed down, they threw out a rucksack, they said, go on, you get out here and just take some pictures of the helicopter. So I was like, okay, I got out with the Royal Navy photographer and they took off. Oh, it's really funny, isn't it? When you take off and fly over the horizon. They took a picture of us as they're taking off. You realise at that point that you ain't got anywhere to go. You've got nowhere to go, you're done. But instead I took some landscapes. You can see it's a really, really stunning place. It's called Patagonia Harbour. All right, so if you want to come on Antarctica, Natural World Safaris will take you along with me and Andrew James. Now, aviation. People like aviation? This lot in the front, love it here, right. I'm starting at the bottom. Wildlife, I'm all right, somewhere up there. Aviation, I'm a muppet down at the bottom. It's like, please take me in the air, please. Please, can I go in your plane, please. I'll do what, please. That's what it's like when you're at the bottom. I'm having to start there because there's a lot of good pros and a lot of good relationships and nobody knows me. So last year you saw some pictures. This year I've done pretty well and I'm going to show you a few. I still go to the Mac loop, I still go to Rouse, but I'm not interested in taking the pictures against the habitat. I want to take something a bit more atmospheric. And I don't want to take record shots of aviation. That's what I've decided. Someone this morning brought a brilliant picture of a typhoon into our critique session. And it was really well processed and it was really interesting and it wasn't a record shot. It had lovely creativity in it. That's what I want to do in my aviation. I don't want to see the tail number. It's okay, I don't need to write that down in my little book. It's all right. I want to take something that's atmospheric, that really means something. That's my view on aviation, and unfortunately, I'm quite different in that, and I don't mind that at all. So this is the one I took in the Mac loop, and again, I like that because I thought, you know, the thing about this is it's not about the plane, it's about the vapour that it leaves in the habitat behind it. I thought that was quite special when it did that and flew across. I was very lucky to fly with Typhoons this year from Coningsby. So this is the 41 Squadron Seek Destroy Special Edition Centenary. And I got to fly with it air-to-air for 30 minutes. The trick with the RAF is to stop the pilots waving at you. You don't want a pilot waving at you or putting up hello mum or teddy bear or something. It's like, just stop putting the teddy bear up, put it down for 5 minutes, or a hat. I once knew some tornado pilots that wore a hat with deer antlers on. It's like, it's pointless, you know, come on. So I got very lucky to do these air-to-airs. And they appeared in the Times the next day because it was their anniversary the next day. And it appeared in the Times, the Guardian, I think, and the Independent. So they were very, very pleased with me. And it's one of these rare times out of aviation when you can actually get something interesting in the press. So I really like doing air-to-airs. I really like showing them in there. I guess it's a bit like my wildlife photography. I like showing planes in their environment. And that's the challenge of trying to grovel to get in the air. I'm very lucky that my association has really helped me with the Royal Navy. And now with Navy Wings, which is the heritage part of the Royal Navy, I do a lot of air-to-airs with this plane. This is the Vixen. It's the most wonderful vintage aircraft we have in the air, flown by Commander Simon Hargreaves there, who I didn't want to look at me, but he's looking at me for instructions. I did an hour-and-a-half air-to-air. I'm in a Texan T6 trainer, propeller job. So we take off, I pull the cockpit back over me, turn around, slide my seat to the end, and the Vixen comes up next to me and I've got white gloves on. And that's how I'm signalling. Down, up, waggle, flip, flip, go under. You learn all these symbols that you're telling the pilot to do, and you've got to communicate it to the guy who's flying you as well. The thing I failed to tell him was, when we missed the shot and I say go round again, I'd rather you didn't go straight up and over the back because all my gear is on the floor and I was hanging onto a bag and my stomach contents at the same time. So I'd rather you didn't do that next time. There you can see, this is over the Devon coastline. So I'm using selective autofocus over her whilst shooting with a 24-70 to try and get some of the habitat in. Because I wanted to show that the Vixen is a coastal aircraft. It's a Navy aircraft, it's there to protect our borders, or it was. Okay, so I wanted to show it in its habitat, which is the sea. This is a pretty tough bank over, it's pretty scary actually, he's an amazing pilot, but when it does that and comes right over your head, you feel the jet wash. It's a pretty interesting thing to try and photograph and not get any of it in. And I just love that. I said to him, I want you to do something really funny. We went across Lyme Regis Bay and I said, I want a really fast pass. I failed to specify from the plane, and when I'd recovered from my ears virtually pounding out the side, I said to him in the future, can you not come within 30 feet, please? Can you be a bit further away? I've been doing some other, this is the Belgian Air Force, we did some flare popping, which is interesting. So they don't tell you they're going to do it. So you have to look through the lens and you have to react instantly. There's no signals that they're suddenly going to do it. They suddenly bank and pop some flares off. I've been working still with the MiGs. You know, I worked with the MiGs last year, Polish Air Force. I've been going back and back and back. And this year I finally got to do my dream. I did air-to-air. And it's interesting when you do air-to-air with a friend. This is my friend here, one of the pilots. He's a great friend of mine. He's become a really good social friend. And it's different when you're photographing a guy in a plane that you know, because you really don't want to mess it up. I love that image because it's over the sea. Look at it. I mean, it's just really, really simple and beautiful. Whether you like airplanes or not, you can see it's part of the habitat, and it's the beautiful light on the sea that I think really made this. Also worked with the Luftwaffe. This is a very nice Tornado, quite metallic in its setup. I like that because of the beautiful clouds on it, you know, really amazing power. And I want these planes to look powerful. That's the light of the sun on the cockpit. Why don't we paint our planes like this? Give me a paint, I'll have a go. This is Use. Hellenic Greek Air Force F-16 display. What a beautiful aircraft, huh? And he could have flown it inside the back of our... He was an amazing pilot. He kept it level all the time. I'm shooting at ISO 100. And he could have flown it inside our parachute thing. He had such an amazing ability as a pilot. All right, I'm almost out. So I'm going to go... I was going to do top 10, and I couldn't count them down. So that's going to be top 15. Is that all right, of the year in order? I couldn't cut them down. So I'll try and tell you a bit about the technical side. What's he doing? He's a wildlife photographer. No, I'm not. I'm an aviation photographer. No, I'm not. I'm a steam photographer. Do you know what? I just enjoy my photography. I did a model shoot last year, and I'm no model photographer, but I saw this picture with the bocky behind and the rim lighting on the bowler and this wonderful model we had, and I absolutely loved it getting off the bus. The reason I like it is because 2 years ago I wouldn't have ever shot this kind of picture. I wouldn't have had the confidence to show it here, but I think I've got a lot more confident in what I can do, and I just want to show you that not to be pigeonholed. There's so much photography out there to enjoy. Isn't that horrible? I thought that was absolutely horrible when I took that. What a monster. I mean, that is a Thompson, male Thompson, decent size, being eaten whole by that absolutely horrible thing. I love portraits of animals like this that are edgy. It will never get published in a magazine, ever. Good. Why not? You have to take pictures you really like, and I really like that. Of course, I love backlight. It's a bit difficult to do backlight on aircraft. Doesn't quite work, they don't have the same fur. But with animals, it works really, really well. I lit up all the focus points. So all 61.5 million focus points are lit up. And AF is mode 6. If you've got anything coming towards you, running, jumping, flying, put it on AF mode 4 or mode 6. They're designed for erratic motion, and I find they're a lot more accurate for things like that than the other modes. So mode 6, and I just like the backlight of it. Down at -2, stops, just to get the nice atmosphere. I've got millions of leopard pictures, but this is a very special leopard. She's daughter of a leopard I love very much. And to get her on this rock habitat was something special. It's actually in the Mara. This rock habitat only exists at one river crossing in the whole of the Mara, and it literally stops at the top and stops at the bottom. And she walked right through the middle of it in morning light when I was parked there. I tried to get on the phone and do the lottery that night. I thought, this must be my night to do the lottery. So, nice one, that one. I couldn't choose which one of the two I liked the most, so I put them both up. What do you like? Do you like... Shout for that one! Shout for that one! You're useless, you lot. I was exactly the same. This was 2 weeks ago. Tiger. Yeah. Ooh. Very famous tiger called Arrowhead. She's lovely, 3 years old. Walking across the lake. I knew she was doing it for 20 seconds before she did it, and I could not find my wide angle. I'm sitting here in a tiny Jeep. People wondered what I was doing. I was rooting around everywhere down here. Couldn't find my wide angle, so I had to shoot it on the 100 to 400. Had I shot it on the wide angle, I'd have got the 4 above it in silhouette. Ah! Different from the fisheye I ever shot before. I like that because the polar bear is a small part of the habitat. Big, strong, leading foreground interest here. Nice curve with the fisheye. I think it's a 15mm fisheye this one's taken with. And the bear is a small part of the frame, and that's the idea. I want to show how small the bear is with its habitat. I had to pick a Vixen picture, and that was one I thought was nicest because it's over Start Point Lighthouse, and it's showing about, the point of the Vixen was to defend our shores, and that's what we needed for the Navy wings. I was shooting for the advertising for them. It's what we needed to get to convey this message across. So you've been hearing all day about all these other photographers that their job is to create a message for their clients. Well, I had a client for once in a while, and so I'm trying to create this message of a maritime heritage that we have. Obviously focused on the plane, but I shot at f11 because I wanted to get all the detail on the ground as well. You can even read the number plate on some of the cars when you zoom in. So I do still shoot UK wildlife. I know I didn't show any tonight. My life at the moment is a bit busy. I'm travelling a lot, but I do try and shoot what I can, and I love this swan stretching. I had to cut the reflection off. The area where I photograph in Cardiff, there are things that are floating in the water. Some of them may not be the best things to show in pictures, let's say, and there were quite a lot of those floating in the water in front, and they look like those things. So I had to cut the reflection off, but I like that, the way she stretched. Again, the AF, I've used all the points, and I've shot at f11, because I don't know where it's going to focus. It could be there, it could be there, it could be there, it could be there. So all the points, f11 means it's all sharp, -1 stop means it's going to be nice and atmospheric. I shot this 6 years ago. It was never processed. Shoved away in the 13,500 raws I have in my processing queue that have never been looked at. 13,500 raws waiting for me to process. Am I ever going to get there? It was right, and I was just scrolling for a lion one day. I need a different picture, and I saw this and I thought, it was in colour, and I thought, yeah, it doesn't really work in colour, the light's not right. I'll load it into DPP, convert it, try it in black and white in Photoshop. Oh my God, it really jumped out. I put the right profile on it, darkened the sky, it jumped out. First print company I sent it to bought it. So it shows you that no matter how much stuff you've got in the past, you should always try and go back and have a look at stuff, because you will all have some hidden gems, and I certainly did. I didn't know they were going to do it. I wish they'd have told me. It would have been a lot better had they told me they were just flying in front of me, and then they decided to cross like that. And I was like, afterwards, I was like, thanks for telling me. He said, well, we were waving at you. I was like, well, that's a lot of help, isn't it, from my eyesight? But it was really good to get them crossing like that. That's Denmark in the background. Very high shutter speed, 2,000th of a second at f11, to try and get them both in focus. Some people would say that's a classic Andy Rouse shot. It is. I love pastel colours. I love space. I love simplicity. It's looking into simple space. It's just a normal pastel sunrise. It's normal. I've not done anything to it. She is just a really perfect line, which is unusual for the Mara. They're normally scarred up. She was a very, very young one. Really nice. Looking at something to kill. And I just love the light on that. I just think it's a very nice image. Number 3, I had to show a little owl. I love little owls. Low down in the grass, very low down, frosty morning. I used dried mealworms. Dried ones, not live ones, dried ones. I flicked them with a catapult and they come down. I mean, I don't know what they think of dried mealworms. They probably hate them, but that's what I do. And he came down and ran around and had a look and then was peering at me through the grass, and I just raised my head slightly and they raised it as well, playing a game, and that's when you nail the picture. Little owls are interested in you. Don't think they're scared of you. If you're standing up, they are. If you're lying flat, reasonable camo gear, they're not. And they will come down and root around. Dead mealworms, that's what I use, dried ones. I like that. Do you like that? I know you lot like that. It's aviation people here, I know they will. I like that because it looks threatening. A warplane is a warplane. It's meant to look threatening. A tiger is a predator that's meant to look threatening. It's not meant to look cute unless it's a baby. It's meant to look threatening. And we should photograph aircraft like they're meant to look. So this is a tornado in a dive at my plane, which at the time I didn't really appreciate, I have to say. But afterwards, when I got the pictures, I thought, actually, this is not bad. You can see he's really accelerating. You see the jelly coming out the back and off the edge of the wings, the vapour. He's really accelerating at us because he's a pilot who wants the pictures. That's the simple reason. He's not doing it for anything else. The first thing he did when he got landed was, did you get the pictures? That's what they care about. Did you get the pictures? Yes, I got the pictures. So my favourite image, this will surprise you, shot last weekend. There's the tiger. Why is it my favourite image? Because I would never have ever shot this picture before. It shows how I've changed in what I do and how I've learned how the market is changing. The market that I'm in doesn't want full frame tigers. Anyone can do that. The market wants tigers in habitat, animals in the context of where they live. And this tiger had its head down for most of the time. As soon as it's put its head up, I immediately saw that image. And I thought, you know what? That's something quite special. I quite like that. Finally, the way ahead, more of what I do. I'm actually taking a lot more pictures now than I did. I'm going to try and become a much better videographer. You're going to see me on YouTube channel. When I work out about Instagram stories, which I can't get to work, I will do that. I've got a lot of expeditions going in the next year. I've got one female place in September. Antarctica, go and see NWS, great trip. Lots of other stuff going next year. Photobuzz, we do lots of, we love. Books, you name it. There's my Twitter, Facebook and whatever. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you very much.